Today is April 20th, 2023. The time is 6:35, and this is the Acushnet Planning Board. This meeting is being recorded for future viewing on YouTube. We are live via Zoom and also live out there on cable. Can I get a motion to open the planning board meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can everybody please introduce themselves?
Steve Boucher, member.
Dave DeVictor, member.
Mark Francois, Chairman.
Brian Deschamps, member.
Rick Ellis, Vice Chairman.
Okay, next on the agenda is the minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look over the meeting minutes from March 9th, 2023? We were all present. Did anybody have any issues, changes?
I don't have any additions, I totally just myself.
Motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of March 9th, 2023.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And did we have a chance to look over the meeting minutes from April 6th? We were all in attendance. Were there any questions, issues, changes needed? I'll take that as a no. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from April 6, 2023.
Second.
We have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain. I didn't get to read them, so.
We have 4 and 1 abstaining.
What's going on?
Okay, this was this was kind of thrown on me. Correspondence for 2023-2024 Serpent Commission Member Appointment Form. Serpent is Southern Regional Planning and Economic Development District. I don't know if you're all familiar with this. But it's 23 towns with 4 cities all involved, and they all kind of get together and discuss different things. Every town needs a representative. I'm going to throw it out there. Usually the town planner is our representative. As you know, we are lacking of that man or person. I'm going to throw it out there. Does anybody on the board want to take that position until the town planner is hired? With your silence, I kind of get your answer.
Another night.
Yeah,
Night or daytime thing?
I don't know. To be honest with you. I think it's Zoom most of the time.
If it's daytime, I definitely couldn't.
I-
I'm walking to Lawrence.
I honestly don't know. This is, like I said, kind of thrown at me, and my name just happens to be in all the open slots here. So there is one thing I am going to change, though, is that it says on the Serpent Commission for the period of May 24th, 2023 through May 22nd, 2024. I will accept the nomination of being the Serpent representative for the town of Acushnet for the planning board from May 24th, 2023 until the town planner is hired. And then yes?
This is a big daytime commitment, you know.
It is a big daytime commitment.
It's not a nighttime thing. And that's why it's usually the town planner, because they're at work and they can attend the daytime meetings.
Oh.
Is it once a month?
Be careful, be
Once a-
careful.
Is it a once a month thing,
Is it once a
or?
month?
It's an on and off thing, but once you get in, you know, the plan for Jamie here is to probably start pushing the master plan through Serpent and get some work out of them.
It's a lot of time.
So I just know it's a daytime thing.
Okay, so with that new information that just came to light, we are going to table this until the next meeting. Can I get a motion to table this until the next meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you very much.
Good
You
idea.
owe me a coffee?
Excuse me?
You owe me a coffee?
I do indeed. All right, moving on. Discussion of other topics. We have the folks from Nexamp here. They have 4 projects that they're gonna go over one by one. Just so the audience knows, we have the conservation agent is on Zoom, and the building commissioner is also on via Zoom, Andy Babola. Gentlemen, please feel free to interject at any time with any questions that you may have.
Those are plans.
Excuse me?
Those that revised.
Those are the revised plans. God bless you.
Maybe we can take them one at a time.
We are going to take them one at a time, and why don't we start with Cushing Lane? Would you like, whichever one you want to start with.
Sure. So, for the record, Jack Curry, I'm with Nexamp, representing the 4 project LLCs. Before we dive into each plan, can I give an overview of kind of where we're at with these projects? With the planning board?
Please.
Okay, great. So, as you all know, we appeared before the board at the April 6th hearing to discuss the decommissioning bonds, which were verbally agreed upon but not formally voted upon by the board. So we are back here tonight. We had submitted some plans to the board last week, as well as some language for approval that we were requesting. So we are coming before the board tonight requesting a vote on these plans to reaffirm the board's approval of them, given that there are other departments in town who are looking to the board before issuing permits, such as the building department. So that would be one, and then also, of course, the decommissioning agreements that we discussed last time.
Not to speak up a little bit, I'm old and deaf, thank you.
Sure. So I can give an overview of the plan, what has changed since the last time we were here, and then I'll turn it over to Beals and Thomas, who can dive into some of the details, but there really are not too many. So generally, last time we were here, we discussed that we would need to get the fire chief's sign off on the 360-degree interior fire access road for the Acushnet solar site, which we have done. We've been in discussions with Chief Farland regarding those plans, and he issued a written approval via email. And then also another point of discussion was the width of these interior fire access roads, which we also received written approval from the chief for.
I'm going to interrupt you. I spoke to Chief Farland. He has approved 14 feet around the perimeter of the inside perimeter of the solar fields. I spoke to him and said that, you know, you're basically setting a precedence here for future sites, and he understood, and he felt that 14 feet was enough for him and his equipment and his machine and his trucks to get around the interior of the solar fields. It has to be 16 feet minimum from the main road to the solar field, and then once inside, it can go to 14 feet. Continue, please.
And for the Robinson Road site, last time we were here, we discussed some new screening along the southern boundary of the property, as well as some more supplemental screening along the northern portion of the property, along Robinson Road, and then along the eastern portion of the property along Cushing Lane. So with that, I'll turn it over to Beals and Thomas to go through some of the more details of the plans.
We got a copy of each one.
Mr. Chairman, maybe we just do each one of these one by one?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, completely,
Yes.
with the bond amount and
Yes.
an explanation of changes from what was originally approved. That would be the way I'd like to see it.
Gentlemen, Cushing Lane.
Two here is probably
Yeah.
more than enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Evening, Chairman, members of the board. Guess we did start with the 1050 Main Street. Nate Belts appeals to Thomas, by the way, for the record.
Could you start with Cushing Lane?
With Christian Lane.
Is that possible?
Sure, so,
We just do fence.
yeah, so for Cushing Lane, the only modifications to the plans were the fence height. So we're now going with a 7.5-foot total height. It will be a 7-foot farm fence with a 6-inch critter gap.
And that's literally the only change.
And what sheet would that be shown on?
So that should be on the detail sheet.
Okay.
Zoomed in version of what the fence will look like.
And what was the fence before, 7 feet?
I believe so.
I think it wasn't the original 7. There's someplace. The original one you signed. That's just,
That's what it was.
yeah, this was 2021.
So we do have, I know we issued memos of all the plan changes from the permit plans to the current construction plans, January 17th, 2023. Kind of outlining all the changes, and if you'd like, I can go through each project, the bulleted list, all the changes.
And now the changes from which one to which one?
From the approved permit plans to the current set that you're looking at.
Yeah, if you could just go over the changes.
So for Cushing Lane, minor modifications were made to the layout and erosion and sedimentation controls for the roadway improvements, so additional sedimentation controls. There was addition of erosion and sedimentation controls within the 30-foot wide drainage easement swale, which includes stone check dams, sedimentation control barriers on both sides of the swale, and a stone level spreader at the end of the proposed swale. Minor modifications were made to the width of the gravel access drive, nothing less than what was approved for permitting, so widening. Minor relocation of the temporary construction entrance, addition of temporary gravel aprons and steel plates in the vicinity of a proposed culvert to improve site access and protection of the proposed culverts during construction. Minor modifications were made to the erosion and sedimentation controls, which include temporary compost filter sock slope interruption, addition of trap rock crossings and locations, and for potential stormwater flow across the access drive. So again, kind of beefing up the erosion and sedimentation controls. Minor modifications were made to the utility pole locations and layout. Minor modifications to the grading around the electrical equipment pads. Addition of electrical handholds and associated outlet pipes per utility requirements. Minor modifications to the cross-section of the gravel access road per the geotech's recommendations. And also minor modifications made to the seed mix used for site stabilization. So sums up the changes for Cushing Solar, mostly dealing with the sedimentation and erosion controls.
So sheet C400. You got a gravel access road coming from the main road all the way out to here, and then you just call it the fire access lane?
Yes, the fire access lane.
That's not gonna be gravel?
So that will be gravel, but instead of the 12-inch depth of gravel for the access road, it's going to be a 6-inch layer of gravel.
adequate for fire truck?
Yeah, per the geotech's recommendations, it's suitable for vehicular traffic.
And the conditions that are out there.
Hey, Mark,
Pat?
when you and I spoke to Chief Farland, he wanted the same gravel on all of the road.
That is correct.
No, yeah, I'm not having any more faith in their geotechnical stuff out there. I'd rather see exactly what the main entrance is, be the road all the way around, and I think that's what the chief articulated.
Yeah.
But he's on the call now. He's on Zoom.
Who is?
The fire chief.
Oh,
He's a very dedicated guy. He's on vacation, but he's on Zoom.
There he is.
there he is.
So, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it makes no sense to downgrade the road when it's for fire protection and safety. You got a couple of hairpin turns out by the cul-de-sac. How does any fire apparatus make it around a 90-degree turn on a 14-foot lane like that? You got two of them.
Yeah,
And then there's another one over here. It's just, I don't know, it's just,
Did the fire chief actually see these plans, or did they just talk to him about the 14-foot road?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Farland, if you're listening, I think you did view these plans, if I'm not mistaken?
That is correct. I was able to view the plans, and with the wheelbase of the primary responding apparatus that we have to that location, the 14-foot width with that layout would be absolutely obtainable with our apparatus.
Thank you.
so what's the deal with the road? It has to be built, the extension of Cushing with a cul-de-sac?
That's gonna be,
Is any of that been done? Is that being done before they break ground on this?
Well, I'm gonna interject. They have, this project has serious stormwater conservation issues. They haven't broken ground on this project yet. They have to deal with conservation before anything happens. The only thing that they've gotten approval on is access through Cushing to get to 1052, I think it is, which is through there.
So they have approval in concept, but we have not seen the detail of the corduroy road, of what they propose to put over,
Right.
what they're calling a drainage swale, but I'm calling possibly an
that's
intermittent
the
stream.
rigorous paved. This shows paved.
So back to my question. I mean, typically in a subdivision, you expect the road to be built before the houses. So is Cushing Lane Road scheduled to be built out before the panels go in?
Yeah, I don't know if the next step could speak to the timeline, but I know the last sheet on that plan set does kind of outline the roadway improvements.
Yeah.
Yes,
Propose that.
yep, we see that.
And none of this stuff notified, it doesn't, that's the only sheet that right now, there's notifications, I don't think it said it. Okay, too short.
So Dave,
Yes.
I asked Nexamp to provide me with a schedule of the construction activities with dates of, start phase one, here's what phase one is, we'll have this done by this date. Well, and Navison did this for us, they were able to do it. Nexamp has refused to do it. She said that she's not gonna get granular with the construction schedule and doesn't wanna give me any dates.
Hi, good evening. This is Jennifer Duquette, Project Manager with Nexamp. I just wanted to speak to that one point that during a meeting that we actually had a couple weeks ago, I was very clear that I could not provide dates given how construction changes on a regular basis, and I don't want to be held to a very strict timeline. We have to be able to change as developments are made. And that is actually, I have a recording of our meeting where I made that very clear.
And no one asked for a very strict timeline. We didn't tell Navison we were gonna hold them to their schedule. We just wanted to know in our minds, through the building commissioner and the peer review engineer, that it was achievable at the site. And, the biggest problem we had with the flooding was there was no phasing of the project and we had no control over the schedule. So I'm asking for a schedule just like the last solar field provided. And
Yeah,
it seems
and
like they're reluctant to do that.
I've provided a breakdown of how we intend to do our construction, and I've offered to update that on a regular basis. However, I'm not comfortable providing specific dates on when different phases of construction will take place. I can tell you that right now we're going to be doing civil construction, and then I can tell you when we're going to be doing surveys, then starting installing racking, and then moving to electrical. But I'm not comfortable providing dates that we're going to be held to.
Then I'm not comfortable.
Jill, is it Jill?
Jennifer.
Jennifer, I'm sorry. Can you answer that question, Jennifer? Is it your intention to build the road, at least rough the road down with a base coat before building the array?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Are we talking about Cushing Solar specifically right now?
Yes, that's what we're on, which requires,
Yes.
as part of the signatures on that definitive plan and an extension of that roadway, the cul-de-sac has to be built out for this lot to be buildable. So in my opinion, I don't even think a building permit should be issued unless the road's at least, satisfactory with base coat for a fire truck to go down there and turn around. If a fire were to
Yep,
break
so
out.
we absolutely intend to build the access road. That's one of our first items. We always go in and do preliminary clearing to get ECVs in place. So once we have ECVs in place, we move forward with clear cutting the site and doing all stumping and mulching, grubbing, and then we move in with access road construction. In order to install that turnaround, that cul-de-sac, we do have to have the temperature to a certain point to be able to lay the asphalt. But that is all in the first phase of construction before survey comes in and begins ground screws and array construction.
Okay, thank you. So do you have a handout with that long list you rattle off?
I do have just one copy.
Just one?
I'd be more than happy to email them over.
Be helpful to
Yeah.
be able to
Yes,
understand, because I know you rattled it off pretty quickly.
sure.
But to your point, that's definitely a concern. I know that was what that's.
If you guys would like to look at it, a lot of the bullet points are gonna be the same for every trial.
Considering,
Way in.
I'm sorry.
No,
Those conditions.
I would say,
field.
considering some of the issues that we've had with a couple of the other solar projects, we certainly need something in terms of construction sequencing in writing. Like, all access roads need to be built before any building permit is issued for any panel construction or anything of that sort. That's been an issue with, a couple of the other projects. I mean, before you start to build the project, you've got to build the access roads to get to it. And as one at 1050, where they found out already that access road could not be built at the approximate existing grades. We need this. These entrances are critical to the construction of the project, and they need to be in place and acceptable to our stormwater agent and the building inspector and the fire chief before that site gets cleared and worked on. The other thing that definitely needs to be in place before any panels go up or any footings go up is the drainage and erosion control stuff have got to be in place, so that when the site's cleared, there's not this excessive runoff to adjacent properties that affect the adjacent properties. There's got to be some some intermediate thing between no construction sequencing in place, and detailed August 25th. I mean, I don't really care whether anything happens on August 25th or not, but I do need some assurance from my end that the thing gets built in a responsible fashion that respects the adjacent properties, and that has not been done so far. You know, we've left it up to the contractor to take care of, and the proponent, and it hasn't worked. We need, I need something to see something in writing on construction sequencing. Like, the entrance roads need to be, I mean,
I can commit to putting that in writing.
I think we need to see that, because to just start in and rip the site open and then put the drainage works in afterwards and then start to try to get access roads that are accessible by construction equipment after the fact, that doesn't work from my end, quite frankly.
Mr. Duquette, you said you're not comfortable with giving us a timeline or dates and times. I don't know if we're asking for exact dates and times, but we do need to know, the building commissioner, the conservation agent need to know when certain parts of the job are going to start. And if there is a sequence, they need to know, or even be notified within, give you days. I'm not saying it has to be the day, but, an email to them just saying, in the next week, in the next couple of days, this is what's going to start. And as long as they're aware of the sequence and what's starting, we need to have some kind of a timeline.
Sure, and I can commit to putting that in writing. I can list out kind of the order of operations, the fact that we'll have stormwater measures in place and the access road in place prior to ground screws and array construction, and I can notify different members of the town when we are moving from, civil construction to ground screw installation, and I can kind of put that into writing as to the larger scale parts of construction and the sequence that they're going to take place in. But I can't tell you that on September 1st we're going to be installing wires. That's not something I can do, but I can give you a larger scale breakdown.
Okay.
Please.
Mr. Duquette, I think the concern with this board is, and I'm not sure if you're even aware of it, but we had another solar farm that they clear cut 20, whatever it was, 18 acres, a significant amount of wooded area, pretty much around Thanksgiving, and they created an absolute mess, and people got flooded out downstream. And the concern here is that obviously we want you to do it in the dry, and we want it properly seeded at the proper time of the year, so that everything is stabilized and we can avoid the mess we had in this past year, last fall. So we're not looking for exact dates. We understand, the constraints that you have to work around things and weather and whatnot. But I will say this, we're looking at the plan where it says general construction sequence notes. Erosion control covers 3, 4, up to 4, and then after that, it goes right into install solar panel support post, and there's no talk of access roads. There's no talk of construction of Cushing Lane up to and including the cul-de-sac. And those are important things that need to be put on the plan in the right order. And I think it's imperative to state on the plan when seeding shall occur. If work goes on all summer, the seeding shall occur between September 1 and October 31, not after that, or through the winter we end up with a barren site like we did on another site.
Not 2 days before Christmas, yeah, that's
So I think that's where we're trying to go here, I think. That's my opinion anyway.
Okay, and I can work on putting something together for you.
Pat, you have anything else?
Pat?
Pat, you're muted.
Just some outstanding conservation issues that aren't in the planning board, so I won't tie you up with that.
Okay.
But I know the construction sequence has been a big issue in our internal meetings, Mark, and that's why I brought it up.
No,
Okay,
I
no,
think
agreed.
it's a good valid point considering recent experience with some of these larger site projects.
All right, since we are, I don't know if I got every single one of these, hold on. Since we'll go from one plan right into the next, let's finish with the decommissioning costs of Cushing Lane and vote on that. At Cushing Lane was agreed to $143,879. That's the same amount that was on that list that we looked at the last meeting. They have the bonding company already all set up. It's already been discussed with the town administrator and agreed upon with town council. Can we take a vote that the decommissioning for Cushing Solar LLC located at 100 Summer Street? No, sorry. Well, that's the company. But Cushing Lane at 143,879.
Is that that's the 20-year
That's the
run-up?
20-year.
Okay. Let's go ahead and approve the $143,000 amount at 20 years with that bond that is acceptable to the town administrator. And I'm assuming he's happy with the bonding company also. Okay.
They've already, and town council has looked these over and they've come to an agreement on this.
That's marvelous.
We got a motion? Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That one is-
I would also like to,
You guys need to do a roll call vote on Zoom. You need to do a roll call vote on Zoom.
really?
That's only if one of my members are on Zoom, no?
Yeah, we're all here.
Okay, but we do it anytime there's anybody remote. They do a roll call vote, but no big deal.
I don't know if that's the right way or not, but we can do it just to cover our behinds.
Steve Boucher? Yes.
Dave DeVegnan, yes.
Mark Francois, yes.
Brian Duchamp, yes.
Rick Ellis, yes.
Unanimous.
I would also like to make a motion that no construction be started on this project until we have the construction schedule in writing in front of us, and that construction schedule shows all the access roads being constructed and in place before any wires, foundations, panels, or other structures be placed on that site. I would add to the motion that all erosion control measures necessary to protect the adjacent properties also be put in place prior to the installation of any wires, conduits, foundations, or panels. That to me is the most important thing. That stuff has got to be done in place and working before any of the hard construction starts. And again, no wires, no conduits, no foundations, no panels. Let's get the site in a state that it's not going to damage adjacent properties first, before that stuff starts.
Or in this case, the wetlands.
Though, I mean, yeah, that's an adjacent property. Yeah.
Hey, Pat, I got a question for you. What's the condition of that site up there? Is that just a kind of a wet meadow, so to speak, as you would be referring to one of the other projects out there? The concern was, like Dave brought up, is, only 6 inches of gravel going around that rest of that fire road. If it's not sitting on something that's relatively stable, it's
Yeah,
not gonna hold up. It's not gonna hold up, we know that.
Absolutely not. I mean, we haven't been, or we don't have test pits along that whole road, but if there's a foot or a foot and a half of farm loam on top of this, 6 inches of gravel is not gonna last. You know, I mean, it's really quite as simple as that. And another reason why I think that the access roads have got to be in place and acceptable before any of those wires, conduits, foundations, or panels go in. That will give the proponent sufficient incentive to get that stuff right before the important things go up that are going to make them money on the site.
I also agree that if you get 12 inches on the
18 inches.
or 18 inches on the beginning part of the access road, I feel that should continue all the way around, in my opinion. If Chief Farland's okay with the 14 feet, then we're okay with the 14 feet. But like Rick just explained, if you're only taking off, 6 inches of loam and putting down rock, that's going to disappear. I would be happier with the same all the way around. Not asking for asphalt, but just a gravel road around the perimeter.
Literally just something that's stable. I mean, the entrance at 1050, the construction people found out very quickly that 1.5 foot of farm wall down at the bottom did not provide even close to the amount of roadway stability that was necessary to get to and access the site. That's, again, I'm just repeating myself.
We have
but
go ahead, please.
Well, am I misunderstanding that they're asking us to approve the bond, which we did, and approve the revisions formally, and we're asking them to revise
The revisions.
revise the plan one more time for us to accept it, meaning depth of gravel for the road sequence, which should, if they revise it and put it on the plan, that kind of covers what Rick's saying.
Yes.
And so we will continue the matter for 2 weeks so they can provide us with new plans that are updated that we can actually vote on.
Agreed.
So my question, is there a need for a motion? We're not gonna approve the plan.
all right, I
I'll
just
second your
wanted to
motion
make
anyway.
myself clear.
I'll second your
You
motion
know,
anyway, but I expect to see a set of plans. I'll second your motion anyway, but I expect to see it.
Okay.
I'd like to see the set of plans with the access and on the scheduling on the back, like you had
there's
brought up.
there's a sequence.
The sequence needs to be
Updated, detailed,
Yeah.
much more detailed.
You know, and that way too, the building inspector knows what the sequence should be, and your site contractor knows what the expectations are in terms of construction sequence, and does not make that up on the fly, because it's easier to do certain things at certain times for him or her.
Hey, Rick,
Yes.
just so the planning board knows, based on the internal meetings we've been having, the building commissioner will not issue a building permit for any project until all of the boards have signed off.
Mhm.
So there's no chance of, the genie getting out of the bottle like it did at 550, where the past building commissioner issued a building permit before everything else was done. So that'll never happen again.
I understand,
Yeah.
and I'm still gonna reiterate that.
Yep.
I still want to see something that says they're not going to have the opportunity to put in wires, conduits, foundations, and panels until the access road and the access roads around the perimeter and the erosion control get put in place and are satisfactory. Then I can be assured that the whole construction team and owner and whatever will have enough incentive to make sure that stuff is right and acceptable, because they won't be able to put the hardware in that needs to be put in to make money.
So we're not voting on this one right
I'll
now.
second his motion, just
Second his
Yeah.
motion.
for the
all-
record, but we,
Okay, I'm sorry, yeah.
with the caveat that we expect a full set of plans that we will be voting on in the future. We're not accepting.
These
What's here tonight?
Okay,
Okay,
we got a motion, we got a second, all in favor?
aye.
Fabulous. Moving on to the next one.
For the board's clarification, we do have a building permit for the Cushing Lane site. I know
You do
Shannon
have,
had mentioned 515 Main Street, but we do have a building permit.
you do have a building permit, which,
I forgot about that.
no, I didn't, but I still know that before anything is gonna happen out there, you still have to
Yeah.
satisfy
Yeah,
the
understand.
conservation.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that should have happened. Which one would you like to go to next?
Whichever one you guys prefer.
What's next on my list
B
here?
is Robinson Road.
Robinson Road.
This time, what I'd like you to do is go sheet by sheet and tell us what the changes are on each sheet in sequence as we go through the project.
Sure, and I'll be sure.
Not having had such a amount of hours to spend going over the plan, I need that. I need it in a more simple, straightforward fashion than just all lumped together. And I promise on all the rest of these, I have the same issue on the access roads and the erosion control and any drainage structures that are associated with the erosion control plan, that be in place before the hard stuff gets.
Can you help me out here for a second, please? I see. Oh, here we are. I'm sorry, they were lost in the back here. Thank you.
If it does put your mind at ease too, I know on the site prep plan it does show the installation of erosion controls in the perimeter road first.
As long as it's done first.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know Pat can attest that we do, as part of the SWIP monitoring, we go out there and we walk the site and monitor the erosion controls weekly after the quarter-inch storm.
Understand.
Sure.
And we're just trying to prevent another situation where the sites get stripped and the drainage ponds aren't in yet, and the silt blows off the site onto the adjacent properties and wetlands. Sure.
This is all.
Yeah, that's fine.
If I may approach it, if you'd like to go
Please.
sheet by sheet. So going off the memo here, I will actually flip to the site prep plan. First minor modification made was the addition of temporary compost filter socks for stormwater to control runoff coming down the hill from the current plans.
Which plan is that?
Who's on
Oh,
C200?
C200.
So-
Thank you.
These
Is that already in place?
for the Robinson Road.
Yes.
Okay, I thought I saw them.
And flipping pages to the next sheet. So modifications to this sheet include minor shifts in the utility pole locations and layout. Minor grading changes around the electrical equipment to redirect stormwater away from the equipment pads. Minor modifications again to the access drive cross-section per the geotech recommendations, and minor modifications to the seed mix used for site stabilization.
Okay, again, we're talking about another former field. So you're asking to reduce the gravel to 6 inches instead of 12 inches on this one also?
So the permitted and approved fire lane was a 6-inch gravel depth,
Okay.
and during these next revisions, I could, consult with next SAM to make sure that they're okay installing the 12-inch depth for the fire lane to match the gravel access road.
Now, this-
Is there a cross-section for the fire lane?
Yes, so those, I believe, on the detail sheet. So here's the gravel access drive, and here is the fire access lane cross-section, and those are consistent for all 4 projects.
Hey Nate,
Yes.
is there any compaction testing on the roads?
I do not know off the top of my head. I'd have to look back at the geotech report. And
So Dave, at Navison at 550 Main, We had a 97% compaction requirement out there. To Rick's comment of, putting stuff in farm fields, it would be nice to see some compaction testing on the roads to make sure that we're not gonna have stuck fire trucks.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing on this cross-section, I love the compacted subgrade, remove unsuitables as required. I mean, will there be somebody out there from the town to take a look and see if all the loam is peeled out? I mean, that, actually, in terms of peeling all the loam off the top, that's what they ended up having to do at the access road down at 1050 Main Street.
But that actually
I watched it happen, so I,
Well,
what's
they
that?
didn't take it all out, was my issue.
What's that?
I was there when Bates started building that,
Mhm.
and they didn't take all the loom out. And I asked where the Marafi was as the truckload of trap rock showed up.
Mhm.
They told me that the Marafi was at the other job, they were gonna put it down later. So they dumped all the stone on top of the still existing loom and mixed the rock up with the loom to put the Marafi under.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
And that's what goes on with, but they changed contractors since that. They have a new contractor for all their jobs. So we can get into that later.
Okay.
I understand, yeah, I mean, I understand. I mean, the reason for the fabric is to put it down first before the stone, so the stone
Yeah.
doesn't become mixed in with the loam, and you've just got a bigger pile of mush.
I fully understand, but the inspector's sitting in his car while the job's going on.
Can you go over there were some changes that we asked regarding screening.
Yes. That actually, it might be better shown here. So for the additional screening, the cream-colored plantings shown are what was approved for the permitting process, and the green are the additional plantings proposed. So the additional plantings include 7 white spruce, 21 rhododendrons, and 26 mountain laurel plantings. The plantings proposed match what was approved for permitting, keeping the same species as part of this, just adding additional ones. And as Jack touched upon, that'll provide additional screening along Robinson Road, along Cushing Lane, and also along the property line.
But you're not adding anything on that side there, because that's where you pretty much clear cut all the trees, was on that side there. I don't know if that's, what's that, the north side?
So this is the western side.
The western side, there. That's the side that you basically went in and just clear cut all the trees, and you can basically see the neighbors' houses through there. I know one of them is just,
That's all across the back.
that's.
You got all that, this is, you got all these, these abutters here, you got the houses in the back over here, there's Robinson Road, Cushing Lane.
Yeah.
And you're talking about these neighbors.
Yeah, I was talking about
Even
that
this
line.
one, on this
Yeah.
line here.
Yeah.
This line here was the same thing, but
Well, on the same note, on the south side, you have all those new plantings. When you stand in the field, can you actually see in the wintertime through houses?
there's a fence here, right? But we still got a fence
Correct, yes.
here.
And what
I
kind
guess
of,
what I'm wondering here is, you're basically working in a field, right? And you got all these beautiful green trees I'm seeing on the plan. Are they actually gonna screen anything for anybody? And would they be better served on the roadside? Or the 2 streets?
Yes, so they are lined along the 2 streets to provide screening.
But the ones on the south side,
The south side.
can you actually see because there's a wood line on your side, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how far the wood line goes on the other side. So when you stand in the field, can you actually see through the woods and see somebody's house?
Yes,
yes, you
You
can.
can?
absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah, they took all the trees right out in between all of them.
Yeah, all the houses out here, you can
Oh.
see, right from Robinson Road, you can look at the
Yeah, this-
properties, right?
Nothing left.
Nothing, yeah.
Oh, so it was clear cut to the property line?
Yeah.
On that south side?
So the existing tree line kind of follows where these proposed plantings are, and then it was cleared
Yeah, they cleared it right out.
Oh,
They cleared it to the edge of
okay.
the property.
I take back my question. because
Yeah.
I didn't- I was wondering why we're planting trees on the edge of the woods, but the woods
no,
were
no,
cleared.
yeah.
There's properties, there's houses
Okay.
right here.
Yeah. And what kind of fence are you using?
7 foot high.
This is a farm fence and the detail.
Farm fence.
Yes.
Vinyl, white vinyl, wooden picket.
What is a farm fence?
What is a farm fence?
Says fixed knot farm fence. I can Google a picture quickly or.
It's a wire, it's wire fence.
Yes.
It's a wire, it's not chain link, it's a square
Yeah,
wire.
not
I guess
chain link,
that's
Oh,
that's a
no,
new
square.
thing now.
Yeah. So kind of more aesthetically pleasing, I think, than a
Chain link
flat
fence.
chain link fence in town. So we believe that mixed with the plantings, provide enough screening.
Is it solid?
No, you can see through it. It's a chain link fence except rounded, instead of a rounded square.
Oh. So it doesn't provide any screening, it's just a security fence.
Sort of, just looking at your details here, far as the roads go, it says, obviously it says remove all, unsuitables. Who's judging the unsuitables? Do you have the geotech coming down prior to, to tell you gotta take it to a certain depth?
I believe that that's kind of sorted out between, obviously the project manager and Nick Stamp and also the contractor. And then also, us as the civil engineers will be out there to inspect kind of the major construction events.
I mean, part of that problem is that the contractor doesn't want to dig it out any more than absolutely necessary. And, likewise, the owner is not going to want to pay for any additional excavation below the 6 + 2 inches. I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's, a typical,
Yeah.
that we really don't have any way to make sure that enough is dug out so that the road's going to be stable around the edge. I mean, short of asking the fire chief to run around the outside when it's a day after it rains or, while it's raining, there's nothing that we're going to be able to do to determine whether it's been dug out adequately or not. I don't know. Don't have an answer.
As far as the access road, you're using Robinson and Cushing as two sides of that access
Correct.
road?
Correct, yes.
And Mr. Farland, you still there? You're okay with that? Not having the access road 360 degrees around the inside perimeter?
Yes, because there's gonna be gates on both sides, we'll be able to get around most of that. And I was assured by Jen that the width on those two sides that don't have an actual road on the street sides will be enough for us to get our little pickup through if we need to.
Okay, thank you.
Why are there gaps in the plantings?
I think,
If I have a house here,
yeah.
I'm like, oh, beautiful greenery, and then you got these significant gaps, 1, 2, 3. Why not continue straight through?
I believe it's for, growth and, health of the plants. I'm not a landscape architect
Well, they're
myself.
clustered.
Yeah.
A certain distance, and based on scale, I'm gonna say that they're, 15 feet, and they're offset, and that all makes sense, but then there's a pretty significant gap, 3 locations. And I don't know, could the line with somebody's backyard and they're sitting there, boy, it'd be nice if they put something in between that gap so we don't have to look at these, solar panels. I mean, they're pretty hard looking for when you're sitting in your backyard. It's not something you want to look at. I'm just wondering, there's 3 gaps. I don't know.
That was actually something that the board approved in 2021 when these projects went through the original permitting process, that the intent was to cluster screenings, so it's not just one long line of, say, arborvitae or rhododendron. So that the thought process was that clustered screenings would be a bit more aesthetically pleasing than just one row. So
Hey,
we're
Dave.
trying to balance the previous approved plans and of course make the town, happy with the current plans so that, we're gonna be around here for a while, so we wanna make sure that folks are happy with the plans, but at the same time, trying to design the projects based on what was approved.
I guess it wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't clear cut right to the property line. Now you're gonna have gaping holes. I'm concerned for an abutter, I don't know,
Hey, Dave,
yeah.
so although the plantings were approved in 2021, now, Nexamp came back to the commission, and this is one of the things that popped up in our internal meetings, came to the commission and asked for permission to cut additional trees. And unknowingly, I was in favor of that and recommended it to the commission, and they did get permission to cut down trees from our commission, but it didn't go through the planning board, it didn't go through anybody else, and that's one of those things. And I thought that got hit kind of hard over there myself. And I don't know if we authorized cutting down a bunch of trees, but it was a shading issue. And we did approve it after the fact, so.
I mean, it seems like we went from selective clearing on the original proposal to clearing everything.
Correct.
So, I mean, and just in that sense, and that's not really addressed to you, Pat, but, addressed to the proponent, I mean,
Yes.
a density of planting that we agreed to with selective clearing going on, that's one thing. But if it's clear cut, now it's not the same anymore, and maybe more screening is going to be required. I mean, and especially where, I'm going to use the word clear cut, the clear cutting has happened, it wouldn't, doubling the amount of planting is certainly not out of the question for me. I mean, some of it's going to die, and again, we went from selective clearing to clear cutting, and maybe there's more screening that does need to be done now with the present proposal as it was built. This is another situation where, what was proposed on the plan was one thing, what gets done on the site is another, and now we're being asked to approve the old planting. This doesn't even make sense to me, why we would even consider that. It's a different situation now.
You don't want trees going too high. I get it.
What was actually done does not have any relation to what originally was proposed to the planning board. And yeah, I mean, at the very least, additional screening, I think, is in order. I mean, we went from selective clearing to clear cutting, and they have the same planting plan. That doesn't even make sense. If you're going to clear more out, well, then let's put more back in.
Well, actually,
I was curious if there's a setback from the property line on the tree cutting.
I mean, the way they've shown it on this plan is it's just cut right to the property line.
yeah.
I know, I'm just,
Let's see, I don't have, where's the north arrow?
Feet.
I'm assuming it would be on the south side of the,
North arrow, bottom left.
I'm assuming at the, we'll call Robinson Road running east and west on the north side of the property. Then, yeah, then the south side, there was a nice buffer there, but it's been clear cut and no additional plantings have been shown over what was originally proposed when selective clearing was supposed to happen. It also looks like you've got pretty much of a clear cut on the west side of the property up to the wetlands.
Not in their defense, but
Yeah.
the yellow were the original plantings, and in an internal meeting,
Okay, the green is
the
new.
green are the new ones. In an internal
Okay.
meeting, Pat and I brought this up to them and said that we weren't happy with the clear cutting that they had done, and they added the green ones that are in there.
Okay.
Which
Mr. Chairman?
yes, please, Andy.
Yes, just to let you know, you were absolutely on the right track about the internal meetings. There were agreements made that they were going to put in green giants in that area for immediate blocking of neighbors, and also a less appetizing, if you will, species for greenery as far as deer and other animals. So those areas that you're discussing, they have agreed to, with your approval, put in appropriate green shrubbery.
You're absolutely right, thank you.
Right now, we don't have, we call for rhododendrons to go in, but I don't know what's worse, green giants. Once the deer get in there, they're gonna mow it right down. They'll mow it.
No, they don't touch, deer don't eat green giants. They eat,
Green giants are deer resistant.
they're deer resistant.
Oh, are they?
Yeah,
Those are the only ones.
arborvitae's are not, but
Yeah.
green giants supposedly are deer resistant.
Hey, gentlemen, John Markey on behalf of Nexamp and by far the junior varsity on engineering issues. But I fully appreciate the situation you guys were put in when you don't have a planner. You had a bad situation with somebody else who had a similar project, and you're trying to solve a problem in advance rather than having a problem after the fact. But from the perspective of my client who does need to move forward this season so that we're not trying to plant stuff in the fall, we kind of need clarity, not to have input from 5 different people and 2 people on Zoom. Is there any chance that rather than you guys giving us many good ideas, you guys could pick maybe Davis, Vigna's had a lot of good ideas, Andy Babola is the building inspector, and you could tell them to have an internal meeting and provide us with the guidance. So when we come back to you, all the things that were raised today, because what I don't want to have happen is we got a bunch of input 2 weeks ago. He went back and tried to do what he thought he was supposed to do, and other issues have arisen, just so that there's clarity and we have real clear instructions. Because if we get, and I understand from Mr. Hannon, Cushing Lane may not, there's some issues, but the other 3, I think that we can do what you want and we can try to move forward in a good way. But I don't want to come back April 20th and then have 2 more good ideas, and then we kind of, this is not meant, normal times you'd have a planner who could have done all this, and you would have been spoon-fed everything, and we're not there. And I don't blame you, I just think, rather than us spending 45 more minutes of kind of getting good ideas, if you guys pick somebody to sit in a meeting with Andy Babola, who's gonna ultimately oversee the sequencing, who's ultimately gonna say, am I happy with the way they've ordered this? Who then Jen and Jack will be emailing to say, next week we're gonna do this, the following week we're gonna do that. That might be a better use of you all's time. And again, not just because of your time and our time, it's like, I don't wanna do it and then screw it up in 2 more weeks, we get another set. So that's just a suggestion out of respect, and just so that you know, I appreciate your frustration with the fact that the original contractor for Nexamp didn't do well, and that contractor was the source of problems at another site. We responded immediately, fired that person, and brought in somebody new. There was a clear statement by Mr. Hannon, he, like Beals and Thompson, they've been the ones they've been the ones doing all the work since then. We're trying to be responsive, but we need some clarity so that we can get it done this year, because just like any other person that's in business, you have some timeline. So that's just the ask is it possible to try to maybe say, building inspector, who's gonna enforce it with 1 planning board member, and if it's the chairman, that's fine. I just don't want to dump you up. If you're stuck in the SERP meetings, I don't want you to be at this one. But I find,
We tabled that one.
But so that's my ask, is that if we could try to set up a meeting like that next week, so Beal and Thompson can get everything else done, so that by, the Friday before the next meeting that you guys have, new sets of plans with, the things you talked about, whether there's more screening, whether it means clarity on the 12 inches or 18 inches of gravel, all those details, which I truly know nothing about, which is what I'm deferring to you on, but that the professionals have all weighed in, and you can feel confident that your concerns have been addressed.
I think, I appreciate your comments, and, being on that side of the fence, I understand, and I get it. And I think there's no reason why we can't collectively put together the punch list so that the next meeting we approve all of these revised plans. I really do. I mean, to me, I'm looking at 2 projects so far, and they both have the same comments. We want 12 inches on the fire access lane, the same as the other gravel roads coming and going through the site. That was one biggie. This one, more screening. It didn't come up on the other project. And what was the other?
You want sequencing on all
Yeah,
of them?
Sequencing,
Definitely
it's gotta be
sequencing.
Without
detailed
date
and put on
set,
the plan,
but
so.
with order set.
So,
Yeah.
both projects,
No
the sequences
date.
in a fire road, and then this one, we got a screening problem.
You don't have to give dates, but there does have to be some communication
100%.
that's saying, hey, in next week, this is happening. Or in 4 days, this is gonna be happening. And then when it gets done, you know it's done, and then Mr. Haney gets a phone call saying, this is gonna happen in 3 or 4 days, 5 days, whatever. You need to have some kind of a date block.
That part is understood. I mean, there's multiple parts. I think we need to get your approval so that we can go to the next step. Then we have to work with all the town people that it's their full-time job, so that's.
I totally understand where you're coming from, and Dave's got a point. Even though we're going back and forth with a lot of things, Dave's right. I don't think there are that many changes that we're asking for or expecting, and they're all very similar on the two so far. And I kind of see the same thing going for the next two as well. The only thing different so far about this one than Cushing is the screening.
Yep.
But-
No, and again, I don't mean to cut the meeting short, we can take all the input, but if afterwards we took notes on what we think we need to do, if somebody from here could meet, and then we'd make sure we didn't miss something, and if there was something else that you thought of, we could
Yep.
address it proactively.
We can do that.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take it, I just
Nope,
wanted to make sure.
That's fine.
Cut to the chase, there's nothing wrong with that.
Pat, go ahead.
Appreciated, that's for sure.
Before the planning board and attorney Markey commit myself and the building commissioner to things here, keep in mind our schedule, and that this isn't the only job in town, going on, and there's a lot to do. And I'm reluctant to tell contractors what to do, because if it doesn't work out, they're gonna say, we did what you wanted. And that's why I always make the contractor, propose everything they wanna do.
Right, no, I understand, Mr. Hannon, and I think I asked I only wanted one board member, and Mr. Babola, since he'd be overseeing it, we have to go in front of your commission anyways for all the projects, so I thought you would have input there. But to the extent that you want to participate, you're welcome to. I was just saying that Andy's overseeing it there, and the planning board on the planning side could do it here. But if you, go ahead.
But all of our boards are participating in our internal meetings so that we make sure we stay on the same page. And I'm reluctant to break that new system that the town administrator just set up.
No, and I
So-
agree.
And at our last meeting with Nexamp, Beals and Thomas didn't attend. So we didn't get any presentation from Nate. And these plans just came in recently. They weren't distributed to the other departments that participate in the internal meetings. So everybody's kind of getting their first look at this tonight. And that's why you're getting the comments that you're getting.
Well, I saw about 5 emails to the fire chief over the past 10 days, so it's not like we're trying to hide the ball and show up at the last minute. Everybody's doing their best. And if you want me to show up at a meeting at a particular date and time, that's fine. I'm just trying to express to the planning board, technically we have a permit in hand. We understand that there are some issues with it. You've asked us to come back, we're here with it, we're willing to modify it, we're working with the town. I'm just operating on somewhat of a time crunch, and that's what I'm trying to be respectful of my client's situation. And I hear what you're saying as well, Mr. Hannon. I'm just trying to move the ball forward.
As far as everything that we discuss here tonight, we can have a broken down list for you by Monday or so,
Yeah.
early next week.
And we can even take, Nate can send you a list of what we think it is, and you can supplement it. It's a dialogue, right? We're not looking to say,
Yeah.
to hold you to it, but that's what we'd like. But then when we get it back, we kind of want to know if we do that, and we come back in 2 weeks, you guys are going to be pretty happy. Pat may not be happy, the Concom.
No, you gotta.
We're going to do one
right.
step at a time.
Right. Agreed.
Thank you.
If you want to, we could do the bonds tonight, right?
We're doing all the bonds tonight.
That's straightforward.
We're doing all that. We're actually gonna do that one right now. So, Robinson Road. Same bonding company. We've looked at this already, and it was agreed upon $92,722. Again, all this has been looked at before. We've looked at it. We've all agreed at the last meeting. This is just a formality. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve the bond as held by the chairman.
At $92,722.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
We might have to do a roll call, not
Steve
sure.
O'Shea, aye, yes.
Dave Dugan, yes.
Mark Francois, yes.
Ryan Dishamps, yes.
Rick Ellis, yes.
unanimous. Okay.
Is that something you just signed? Is that,
No, we all sign it
okay, so before we go.
before we go, and it includes for all of them, not each individual, so, yeah, before we leave. 2 down, 2 to go. Well, we go to 10:50. Please.
So, again, I guess repeating myself, but we can get started with the site prep plan.
Which one is the site prep plan?
Sheet C200.
C200.
So, since the permit plans revisions included relocating the stockpile area outside the 100-foot buffer zone from the wetland, minor modifications to the erosion and sedimentation controls, the addition of temporary gravel aprons at the site entrance, construction site entrance. And obviously, as discussed earlier, modifications to the site entrance to raise it and provide that culvert underneath it.
Does this plan reflect what's out there today?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So the culvert is shown and the raised elevations are shown.
Is it 12-inch?
It's already been constructed.
12 inch.
Yeah, I was just asking if this plan agrees with what is out there today. That was my question. And it is.
And then flipping sheets, C300. Yet again, minor modifications to the utility pole locations and layout, grading around the electrical pads to reconvey stormwater not to flow onto the pads. Addition of electrical handholds and associated outlet pipes for utility requirements. Minor modifications to the gravel turnaround at the end of the site. Modifications to the fence as discussed. And minor modifications to the detention basin, emergency spillway, and seed mix used for site stabilization.
Now, when I spoke to Chief Farland, he approved 360-degree access to the, I don't know if that's the northern one, that one, up the top one.
Okay.
And then the bottom one, he approved the hammerhead, right where your finger is there.
If it helps
Okay,
you to
all right.
So that one doesn't go 360, but it does have a hammerhead for the turnaround. Oh, there's a blow up in front of us.
Spent a lot of time coloring that. And I'm colorblind too, so I appreciate it.
So the fire lane access, same comment as the other two?
Yep, so
Except
same
the
comment.
gravel.
Especially out there, you're gonna end up with a tanker out there, or anything else, so you're gonna fully loaded tanker, you're gonna have some weight.
Mm-hmm, good point.
Yeah.
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 I mean, you were in the internal meeting, so when you look at the south property line where the jig jog is,
Mm-hmm.
I see the wetland system that can't be touched. But is there adequate natural screening for that lower piece towards that backyard of that person?
What is here, is this all field, is this,
Yeah.
I see there's a wood line right here. There's a wood line along the property line. Is there actually like a natural buffer there? I'm just curious.
So it might be, if you
Through
look
here.
at the site prep sheet,
Okay.
'cause that shows any tree clearing. And for this site, the existing tree line is maintained, and then this is all open field. And then you can see existing tree line kind of picks back up here along the property line.
Is the batteries, those batteries, they've been removed, right? Is that,
Yeah, no battery storage. Those are, these are steel plates during construction. So that's where there's gonna be a culvert crossing, so during construction, they'll put a steel plate on top for safety of the pipe.
To tell you the truth, I haven't been out there, so I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know what that
I'm
looks
curious
like
if
to
that,
the
along
neighbor.
the property line, is it just a thin, you know,
I don't know. Pat, are you more familiar with the screening, the wood line,
the cover sheet doesn't show the neighbors.
on 1050 Main, going up the access road to the right? Is it open to the neighbors?
Wide open,
Wide open.
wide open.
And there's no.
As you get further in the road, when you get behind the existing houses on the two lots there at 1050, there are some trees because they have some sheep. They have a corral out back, the abutting house. That's got some decent screening, nothing exclusive, but from Main Street, basically all the way back to the horizon on the road, it's wide open. When the notice of intent was applied for, DEP notified the Conservation Commission that there was a human altered wetland taking there near the road, and they wanted that investigated before the notice of intent was issued. The commission didn't do anything about the wetlands violations, and it looks to me like the neighbor actually put up a wall, which should have required a stormwater permit because it's longer than 12 feet, but I think that's exacerbating the water trapping between the construction entrance and that wall and going out onto Main Street. So it's wide open probably for 150 feet or so, going in on the right. But there is no solar field out front.
Right.
You know,
No, I was wondering
they're
about the
raised-
back.
They're raised to the back.
But it's way past the houses, right? Is it
Yeah, you're past the houses.
way past the house? Okay.
The sheep may
Yeah.
see it, but
As I'm building, yeah. So,
Has anybody, I know there was discussions of BPW looking at trying to get that
Yes.
water out of there. Like, they'd have to pipe right through the edge of the road.
so at an internal meeting, and this is the one that Beals and Thomas didn't attend, I brought up to Jennifer that I felt they were working in groundwater. It appears to be a wet meadow, and that entrance really doesn't work, and it's gonna keep flooding Main Street. And the construction entrance has to be constructed to prevent water from coming onto the project and off the project. And the way it's currently constructed, it still allows water to come onto the project. And with the pipe that they put through it, the plan I saw shows that there's a pump, and that they somehow intend on pumping stormwater from the right side of the road to someplace unknown. But we talked about the fact that there needed to be a drain put out on Main Street for that entrance to work in perpetuity. Jennifer agreed to meet with Dan Menard. I called Dan Menard. We went out to the site, talked about that. Actually, I think we met at the DPW and they had been to the site. And Dan started talking about the town installing a drain, and I said, no. This is something that, Nexamp would have to pay for, if they need a drain installed to alleviate the flooding from their project. And that's where that kind of fell off. We haven't heard back from Nexamp about actually correcting the problem out there and getting water to drain off. I do not believe that construction entrance works.
Where would a drain line drain
Dan
to?
identified that.
Where would it drain to? I mean,
Dan identified a receiving river, and it's down by Leonard Street.
Leonard Street.
Yep, down by Leonard Street. So The town has given them an alternative on that, we just haven't heard back.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you really, I think there used to be a natural swale there, and then when those two houses were built, I think it's two, right? Or is it one? Maybe?
The problem is Dan said it needs to go quite a ways down the street. All we're gonna do is push the water into somebody else's yard, unless, you know, there's actual pipe installed and an outlet from it.
Yes, I agree.
Last time it flooded, a car did hydroplane and there was an accident at the entrance. A car hit the telephone pole in front of that project. And we don't need that happening anymore either.
So how do we make sure that the entrance to this project is designed and built properly? Anybody?
How long would the drain line have to be that went down Leonard Street?
Nexamp hasn't gotten back to us and hasn't asked, so I haven't pursued it with Dan. I just know that, you know, where there's a will, there's a way. But that location of that construction entrance is a long-term issue, in my mind. It's not like they're gonna take it out when the project is done. That's the sole access. The property owner won't let anybody drive up his driveway and access the property. The first day I went there, I drove up the driveway and he threw me off the property.
Have you guys looked into fixing the entrance?
So to provide some context, it was discussed during the last Conservation Commission hearing. It's currently under existing conditions. Obviously, stormwater runoff comes down Main Street, and because our site, you know, kind of valleys down, stormwater ponding occurred there even way before development happened.
Yeah, it's happened. One time.
So the stormwater issue has always been present, and this is a situation where we're not taking like woods, clearing it, and installing new stuff to add to the stormwater. We're simply, you know, changing a strip of grass to gravel, which will give a little bit of stormwater runoff, but not enough to be the sole issue behind the ponding. So our intent with the site entrance modifications was to maintain existing drainage patterns. So obviously, under existing conditions, currently comes off Main Street, ponds up, flows back onto Main Street and down the gutter line. So with this, we raised the site entrance above that ponding elevation, provided that culvert, so that way stormwater runoff can continue doing what it does under existing conditions, pond up and flow through.
Can I say something? So, when this was all originally okay, we had the neighbors come in, and they spoke about their experiences with the water there. And a couple of neighbors made the comment that the house to the right, at one time, there used to be a drain pipe there that went down to the road to bring it down to the stream. That got dug out by the homeowner there. Okay, and I'm just going by, this is what the neighbors say. Okay, the pipe got put back and the homeowner took it out again. So at one time, there was a drain pipe that went by the front of those properties to drain into that brook. So, and since it's been taken out, that's when they've been having all these problems there.
And I get that phone call from that person probably 3 times a week from Mr. Barboza. He lives right across the street.
Right, and it floods his
Yep.
cellar out.
Yep, and I talked to Dan Menard, and Dan Menard said there wasn't a pipe, that there was a country drainage ditch. And that when one of those houses got built, they filled in the country drainage ditch. And that there's been flooding ever since then. But the way this is constructed, it's exacerbating the problem. We didn't have a lake out there, you know, ever. And the last storm, it actually flooded the fellow's septic system in the house to the left, the first house to the left. It got that big. So the alternative to me is the only alternative is to provide the drainage. And if, in my eyes, if Nexamp wants to have a project, then they should step up and put the drain in. And that's the end of that. The town should get some betterments out of a project, you know, other than taxes when it gets into something this big. And the town shouldn't pay to do it. The town didn't request for the solar field to be there. It should be on the proponent. So, Dan Menard has come up with a solution, but we haven't heard back from Nexamp on whether they want to pursue that.
However, to Brian's point, part of this was some of the situation was created prior to, because there was already issues prior to this entrance going in over there with some of the neighbors, so.
Yes, there were.
Something has to be addressed out there from the DPW, and basically start slapping somebody's hand, basically, to start playing with that drainage out there.
Yeah, we need to put it back.
Yeah, needs to be put back. And part of that'll be part of, like he's got there, he's got the culvert to go in, but it still has to go someplace. Right.
And there is a stream there to pick it up.
Pick it up, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So the issues on this one are the same, or some of them are the gravel around, same as the other three prior.
Sequencing.
The sequencing.
The number one issue is the construction entrance.
Right.
Yeah.
This construction entrance has to be resolved somehow.
Cause it's not just construction, that's the permanent access / construction.
Right,
entrance.
that's
the
gonna
biggest
be
issue.
there forever.
Then the original permitted access showed no changes of grade at that entryway. And it has been modified substantially over what was originally proposed. I would make a motion that we request the proponent to at least put together a conceptual plan of a way to get a drain line back there to alleviate that. Not, I'd like to see what it's going to take to correct the problem.
Just as a matter, Mr. Hannon, you may know the answers, is the road layout owned by the town in a location where if you gave permission and we made a contribution to put in a pipe, would we be able to do that across the people's front of their home? Or do they own to the street such that we would have, because obviously she has not cooperated, right? And so I'm happy to go back to the client and say we want to solve the problem, but if Dan Menard's initial solution was that he would do something and you weren't happy with him and you said, no, Nexamp should pay for it, I didn't see or hear what exactly his plan was. Whether he was going into the street or whether it was going along her front of her house, I just don't know.
Well, they don't own the street.
Usually they don't, that's why I was but I don't know where the culvert was or whether,
Right.
Oh,
it was pretty close to the street. It was out in front of the wall. It was there.
Yeah, there's, based on the plan, it shows the edge of pavement and then it shows a stone wall, and there's a pretty good gap, and there's enough gap in there to put a pipe, and that's in town public way. There's no question it
So
can be done.
if we can work with the
She
town,
may
then-
think she owns
she
the
may,
pavement.
she may not be happy about it.
But they don't.
Right.
And that means ripping up her driveway
Right.
Yeah.
and patching it back up, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
The town owns the first
But it's a lot
part.
easier if the town owns it, and Dan Menard can say we can do it, rather than having a fighter.
Right.
That's what that's looking at too.
Pat?
So, just, Attorney Markey paraphrased there. My full discussion with Dan Menard and Jennifer was that Dan didn't know if he had time to do it. And he didn't know about that. And I said, no, we're not asking you to do it. This is something that, Nexamp would need to step up and do. That's the point I made. Not that I don't want you to do it.
No, I thought that Dan had said he would do it, and you suggested he shouldn't do it next time. So I thought he might have had a plan, an actual plan.
No. Dan's a very helpful guy, and he steps right up, and he's the only DPW director I know that takes on extra work. And he said, we could probably do it, but I don't know when. And I said, I wasn't thinking about the town spending money to do it. I was thinking about the proponent to spend money to do it. So, that's just to clear that up.
Okay, there was a motion made that.
To provide a conceptual plan to solve the drainage issue. Not to have you do it exclusively or the town do it exclusively, but let's see what it's going to take to alleviate that problem. That's all. That's all I'm asking. I don't have that yet.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Steve Boucher, aye.
David Egan, aye.
Mark Francois, yes. Ryan, aye.
Rick Ellis, aye.
That's unanimous. Okay, so we have everything down on the issues on this one. Give me a second, please. This one is this Woodbridge? This one is not Woodbridge. This one is,
550.
this one. All right, so this is the bigger one. Oh no, yeah. This one was decided on $105,511. Again, this is something that we all looked at the previous meeting. It's been agreed upon between council and the proponent. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Last but not least. Thank you. Woodbridge. Please.
Round 4, site prep sheet.
Hey, you guys wanted to do 4 at once. No complaining. Let's see.
So might be sheet C200.
C200 again.
One more.
Sequence.
Yep. 300?
200.
Okay.
No, that's 200.
This is the
300.
legend.
Oh, 300, sorry.
200 is the sequence.
Well, minor modifications to these plans for permitting. Again, erosion and sedimentation controls with these compost filter socks to help slow down any stormwater runoff. Also, minor modifications are made to the sump base of the emergency spillways and stormwater basins. We can flip to the next sheet. Minor modifications also include, again, utility pole locations and layout, grading around the electrical equipment pads, the addition of electrical handholds and their associated outlets, modifications to the seed mix used for stabilization, and the additional clearing that was discussed with conservation.
Where is this one?
It's at the end of Cushing Lane. The other one's right here.
Yep.
Their access is here, but their address is next door to the other site.
Oh, okay.
So it's, yeah,
So it's
Cushing Lane.
weird, the address is down there.
All right,
but
so,
it's-
all right.
This
so
is where Cushing Lane
is.
Road-
Yeah,
Okay.
so the house to the
All
left is where they have all those houses, it's the very back of the property.
right. Okay, I
Which
got
goes
you.
up the hill, back down the hill until you get to Cushing.
Hey, Nate,
Yes.
what other cutting did the commission approve? You said there was some additional clearing that the commission approved?
I misspoke, that was for,
Yeah, that was for
that was for
Robinson.
Robinson, yes. Sorry, thank you, Pat, for correcting me.
I thought I got it wrong on Robinson Road.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't been out to this site. Are there any neighbors? Are there any, there's no screening on this. Is this like completely wooded all the way around?
So this site, yes, is wooded.
Completely wooded all the way
There
around?
was some talk of some screening though. Wasn't there?
Yeah, this is owned by Tony Kudo. And
Yeah.
he went to the meeting and he asked for some screening. I thought there was a buffer along this property line.
Yeah, I remember that.
There's like no buffer. This is a buildable lot. There's more than, it's maybe 2 lots.
I remember him calling, yep.
And he was, concerned because he got hit with a solar farm being on one side and the other. He's like, it's on 2 sides of me. And he asked for some screening on his side, and I thought there was something.
I thought there was a commitment made to do that, Dave. That might have been when Alan Clapp was attending the meeting.
The limit of clearing shown on the current plans, that mimics exactly,
It was right to the line?
yeah, the permit plans.
I remember having a discussion about screening between them.
I mean, it's
Is that the only side of all four sides that,
Probably gotta come, this is,
Yeah, the east side.
that's the road coming off of Cushing Lane, right? Right
Yeah.
through here.
Yep, right before the cul-de-sac.
Cul-de-sac, yep.
I don't know, I just think it's just a little unfair to clear cut to right to somebody's back property line. There may not be a house there, but those are buildable lots. They front on a public way. I mean, is there?
And his comment in the meeting was that it hurt the value of the resale of that lot. And he wanted that screening there, and I thought that was a pretty detailed offer made to do that.
this is before me, because I don't
No, I do
recall any
remember
of
that
this.
discussion about screening in between them. I do.
Okay, I believe you.
I mean, I know there's nothing in that direction, this direction, that direction. It's just, in this case, there's only one impacted abutter, and he's already being impacted on this side, you know?
Is the fencing the same for all four
Same for all
sites?
four,
The
yes.
same square kind
Yep,
of farm
that-
fencing
farm
type of
roads.
thing?
Yep.
Because that's his property line, right, going up here.
Yeah.
You should have something going.
Is it, I'm not so worried about the road, but, I mean, it looks
Well, it's
like,
actually far enough back, 'cause he's not clear cut into there, I see what you're saying.
I mean, it looks like there's enough space between the berm that you're putting in and the property line to put a row of green giants. Is there not? I mean, it looks like it's there to me.
Is it a
You got a 10-foot, 8 to 10 foot.
So where's it, you got a swale here, is this, where's this drainage going, is it
So
right up against his
this,
property line?
this is the top of berm elevation
Yeah.
for stormwater ponding.
Okay.
As you can see, the fence kind of hugs the top of berm, so it will be elevated. And I guess the only concern for putting plantings on the berm would be maintenance for.
No, it'd be on the downside.
On the
I'm saying
downside.
the backside of the berm and the property line.
Mhm.
There's you got
A
a
little
white
bit.
strip right on, straight on through. Might get a little tight over here, but straight on through. I mean, I just, when he said he's been holding, his dad, his story was what, his dad purchased these lots like decades ago to give to each of the kids. And I think he's passing them on to his kids, and someday they're gonna build and they might have to put in screening just so they don't look at this thing, because there literally is no screening. That's something where a solid fence should be put in, not some, you know, there should be an effort to protect that property. I mean, it looks like this bubble line is a tree line. I don't know if that's fact or fiction. Is this a field?
Yep, so the light gray, that's the existing tree line.
Yeah, so they're gonna have this thin area of that's it. I mean, and you're gonna be looking straight up the hill at a massive commercial. I mean, the grades go straight up, so there's no hiding this thing when you're standing out on this lot, you know?
This water's going this way, it's running down into this,
Mm.
over here. This spillway is, where's this water going?
Right on the property.
Right on the property, that's, to me, that's, Pat be looking at that, I think. Just because, like you said, just because there's nothing there, you don't wanna saturate that property and make it undeemable later, right?
Does this one have a stormwater permit, Pat?
They do,
Okay.
they do. These were done when I was helping out the planning board. These were SW Cole reviews. These were the first ones. I worked a lot with Alan Clapp, and Mr. Kudo probably called me every day. This was very big on his mind.
Yeah, he attended all the meetings. And can we do something? Can we consider doing something to protect this guy? It's just, I mean,
Would you prefer a line of tree screening, or would you prefer a solid fence? I'll be honest with you, I don't like that fence on all four of these. You're going down Robinson Road, you're going down Robinson Road, and you're gonna be able to see through this and see through that. And I'm not a fan of any of these fences. I like the solid fencing where people are gonna be able to see, but it is what it is. But where this person is, I am always trying to, at least neighbors, not people driving by, but at least neighbors that live there and have to look at this on a daily basis. Granted, nobody lives there at the moment, but there could be somebody there a year or two from now, and then it'll be too late.
Rochester does all solid fences, don't they? Any of the
A lot of the Rochester ones are all solid, they got like that
Stockade
wooded
fences.
picket fences and whatnot, they all look kinda nice, yeah.
And it looks more, it fits into the, general landscape because
Yeah,
people put up picket fences to
Right.
keep their
But I
animals
noticed
safe.
they have all solid fence around all the solar sites in Rochester.
should definitely be something we consider come the future.
I think green giants would fit better because they'll grow high enough where, and
Right.
every year they grow, you're gonna shield more and more of the hillside. This grade changes from 100 down to 89. Unless I'm reading this wrong. Is there a plateau? Where's the plateau here? So the plateau's here?
Looks like it
The
plateaus.
numbers are,
Oh,
no,
109.
east.
109, 110.
107, 100, that's struck, it's high.
From
and then it goes down to
from here
10,
to here
This
is
way.
about the same grade.
down to 102 at
Right.
the property line.
It's
So you got a 7-foot
It's
rise
a
from here
little
to
bit
here.
lower in
For
here,
rolls back, so.
and a little higher in there. And then this is considerably lower, around 103.
I mean, the project basically has no screening on it, so it's like, it sort of gets away from having to spend any money on it. So I don't think it's outrageous to ask for a row of green giants along that back property line of just one abutter that's impacted significantly, in my opinion.
okay.
Then the question is, well, just in all fairness, do they, high, full-foot green giants, you know what I mean? In this case,
In this case, you get, yeah, I would agree with you, you could do shorter ones, and you're
Yeah,
not,
by the
you're
time
not
they go
spending
do
money,
anything with it,
because there's nobody there at the moment, you could
Yes.
start with
Yeah.
shorter ones
Yeah.
and save some money on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that this guy had an interest in it. My question on it is, how big is this lot where he's gonna be building on? I mean, we could be putting green giants on trees and he's gonna end up with 50 feet of woods between his house and their house. I just don't know enough about the logistics of it. I'm just saying, if Dave, if you were designing it, since you do the engineering, I mean, is he gonna logically place his house up against this, or is he more likely gonna keep woods there? Because not that I'm trying to deny it, I'm just trying to be practical. We put a whole row of trees, and he doesn't build for 30 years, and when he builds further away from it. I just don't know.
Well, based on the bubble line, he's got like a 30 to 40-foot strip of wooded area, and it's clear from there heading back down to Cushman. So he doesn't have much of a buffer. So unless some natural buffer occurs
Okay.
between now and he builds his house, he's really there's no way to screen these things.
Got it. No, but so just so that I understand.
If it was all wooded,
So his
I would-
lot's not all wooded?
No, it's not.
Okay, that's
According to
what I-
this plan, there's a bubble line, a pretty big, substantial bubble line running right across, parallel to the back lot, the east lot line. This is a 40 scale, so it varies from 30 to 40 feet, and that's it. That's all he's got. They clear cut into that, and then all he's got left is a little strip of woods. And he was concerned. He went to the meetings, and he said, "Can I, is this really common for it to be clear cut into the property line?" And based on our new bylaws, I know you're not subject to that, but we got some pretty significant future
Changes,
bylaw
yeah.
changes where they can't build. I mean, I don't know what it would be. Would it be 100 feet?
It's 150 feet.
150. So our new bylaw is 150 feet. I think one row of plantings, because it mitigates for a 30. What he's got left is only a 30 foot, 40 foot strip. I would agree if the whole lot was wooded. Well, naturally he'd say, "Well, I'm not going to cut past this point, then I'll start to see them." But he doesn't have much of a choice.
We can add some screenings along that property line, but we also do have to be mindful of the shading into the modules, because we do have a standard order of procedures where we're procuring equipment, working with utilities, spending a lot of money on these projects under the assumption that we can build them as permitted by the board.
But these
So-
would be on the east side. I don't see how that would impact, you're south facing.
I'm saying if we have, giant arborvitaes or white spruce or something like that, it's gonna shade the modules. The shading is a lot more sensitive than it might appear. It's not a financial thing that we're trying to, avoid spending further money to make some neighbors happy. It's
You know what my count would be? Take your modules and move them away.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't, we're here to protect the residents. I just can't, I would have never even considered approval of this. I mean, especially with the guy complaining, being there and saying, and it's not a outrageous complaint. It's just, he's like, where's my protection? He's right.
Yeah, I mean, on that side of the property, it really shouldn't be a screening issue. I mean, the north-south is like this. This is on the,
Shading, right?
yeah, I mean, that's on the east side of the property. There's a driveway in between.
There'll be a 40-foot, at least a 40-foot gap from a row
I mean-
of giants to the westerly closest panel. I don't see how that's gonna impact the panels at all. You actually have a road, and then a berm, and then you'd have,
And, I mean, you can always trim the tops of these things too. I mean, you don't have to let them go to 30 or 40 feet or however high they get. I mean, my neighbor's got a huge arborvitae fence around his place, but he just trims the tops. So once every 4 or 5 years, you go in there and you trim the tops off to maximize the height at 20 feet. That would seem to be not a big deal to do.
I know the board mentioned it too, but maybe a different type of fencing, almost like a chain link with privacy slats could be alternate.
to putting plantings in?
Yeah, for the screening.
I don't know.
The problem with those chain link, with those privacy slats, 5 years down the line, 7 years down the line, they stop breaking and there's plastic all over the place. That's why we've kind of moved away from those kind of fencing, just because they just break and the wind breaks them and they don't last
Yeah.
20 years.
And then they begin to even worse.
Yeah, they don't last 20 years. That's the issue with that, and I understand where you're going and try to
Other than
still give
something
screening
that's,
and
Dare resistant,
I mean,
they don't have to be that high. Just
I don't know how they
something
feel about
dare-resistant.
the white vinyl,
All it needs is something to basically go as high as the fence itself, right? Maybe a little higher than the fence, but because of the way this thing forms up in the
Right.
back. But obviously something dare resistant, that's the biggest thing. 'cause once
so
they
it
get
doesn't
dare
have to, so
resistant-
what you're saying, it doesn't have to be the 30-foot green giants, it just needs to be a 7-foot something or other.
7 and 8 foot, 8 foot, 10 foot maybe tops, and its maturity, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So you can't see through
Yeah.
it.
So, go do some research on deer-resistant brushery that goes 6 to 7 feet tall and, something that won't shade your panels
Yep.
and yet would still look natural and wooded for that neighbor down the line. We're just looking out for his best interest when he does, or him or his kids or whatever decide, and you guys have built and you're long gone, and those panels are there for the next 20 years, we gotta consider that now. I'm sure that's not a crazy ask.
How high are the panels? What's the peak? Above grade?
Jack, you know off the top of your
I
head?
want to say these ones are around 12 feet.
Yeah, so when you look at grade 108 and you had 12 feet, you're 20 feet above grade at the high point. And he's way down here, looking up the hill. He's got no protection. I mean, it's gonna look even more a monster because you're gonna get, the grade change going uphill.
Yeah.
What do you propose?
I'd like to see some little giants.
Yeah, it might be, we'd have to have that conversation about the grade change over there, but again, something that, I think it's something that you can give some time to mature.
No, nobody
Yeah.
lives there now, so yeah, they can save some money and buy smaller trees.
Yeah.
As long as it's deer resistant, please. Anything else on this one? And we're gonna, and again, it wasn't mentioned, but the access road and all, all look the same, please.
Sequence, yeah.
Sequence, all the
Same
same.
two comments.
Same,
for all.
yeah, for all four. Anybody got anything else on this one?
Yeah.
Pat, anything?
I actually haven't spent any time on that project. I've been busy with the other ones.
Okay. Let's just go right to the decommissioning so we can vote on that one. This is the Wood Bridge renewal, yes. We agreed upon the 92,722. Again, this was looked at the last meeting. We all agreed. This has been approved by council and same as the last. Can I get a motion?
Motion. Oh, go ahead.
Second. First. Motion to approve the bond.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor, please roll call.
Steve Boucher, yes.
Dave DeVignan, yes.
Mark Francois, yes.
Brian Deschamps, yes.
Rick Ellis, yes.
Okay. Instead of what you asked, I don't think there are that many changes. So if we could go over this really quick, and please correct me if I'm missing anything.
Okay.
All four, the gravel road all the way around.
Fire access.
Fire access, thank you. All four have to have the sequence. Starting with Cushing Lane, that one was, what was the issue?
You gotta build a road in the cul-de-sac,
Build the road in the cul-de-sac.
together with the roads around the inside, the internal roads.
Okay.
You got a road to get to the
Yeah,
site.
I think that's the same on all
All
of them, Mark. You know, they've got to have the access roads internally and externally to the project constructed and in place prior to them ripping the whole site open,
Gotcha.
prior to them moving panels and foundations,
Yeah,
wires.
and Cushing Lane is an extended pavement, so that's,
That one's-
that's the one that.
that one
that's-
really
Yeah,
has
this
to
is
be
the only
done.
one that has the extended pavement, okay. Moving on to 1050. The biggest issue with 1050 was the entrance. You guys gotta come up with some kind of design to alleviate that water of some sort, and then we gotta figure out how to alleviate that water.
Just for the record, on the Acushnet access drive, that, we acknowledge that was an issue, and then we did go back before the Conservation Commission to present a plan, which,
I'm sorry, this is for which one?
this is for the 1050.
The 1050? Okay.
Yeah, so, we know that was an issue. We went to the Conservation Commission with a revised plan, and which the Conservation did approve, correct, Nate? Or, I mean, I guess I can approve Pat.
So Pat, is the entrance to 1050 approved and all thumbs up with conservation?
No,
Okay, so you guys gotta take care of that. As far as we're concerned, we need to see something to alleviate that water.
Okay, understood, but if we could just talk about this one, because I want to make sure we address this and come to a, you know, a mutually
I
agreeable
mean,
plan.
we don't want any more puddle there.
No, yeah, I understand.
You know, if that's possible, you know, but, you know, there's been discussions, but I think at this point, you are the project proponent. I am asking you, and we had a motion that carried about coming up with a conceptual plan to take care of the ponding
Yeah.
at the entry and on Main Street. So I think that's where we are on that
That's
one.
where we are on that one. And that was, and then the fire lane and everything else the same on that one. Was there anything else on that one that was an issue?
No.
That,
No.
okay.
No, I don't think so.
Then we went to
1052.
1052, no, we went to Robinson Road.
Yeah.
Robinson Road, the same issues, for the fire lane and the sequence. I think the only other
More
was
plantings.
more screening
More screening.
on that one.
On the
Yeah,
south
south
side.
On the south side,
On the
right?
south side.
Yeah, and is the board
And
okay
then
with?
I can understand why you wouldn't want to put green giants on the south side, but
Yeah.
certainly,
Yeah,
those are
I'm
gas.
sure, I'm
I
sure
agree with
the landscape architect can come up with something that, what we need is a shrub that's like 8 to 12 feet high and just screens everything. There's, you know, the old lilacs were pretty good at that. A little rough looking, but
The mountain laurels, you have them on the plan.
Yeah.
Those work. Rhododendrons, I don't know. I mean, with.
they take a
Steve
long,
on that,
they take a long time
long
to get.
time.
Yeah.
I've been staring at one out in my hot tub. It took 20 years before it finally got to 12 feet tall. It went nowhere for like 10.
All right, so we can move this along. The last one was 1052 Main, and again, the same as the other three, and that one was just to add screening on that one
On the
side.
east side.
On the east
On the
side.
east side,
Where
yes.
that one neighbor is. Now, please, take a second, think back, did we miss anything? Because now these gentlemen are gonna go back, they're gonna fix what I just said, and then they're gonna come back at the next meeting with the corrections. If they have all those corrections, we're gonna vote to
I'm
approve
happy
because
to.
they're on a timeline.
All right, so I'm gonna sum up all 4 projects, same thing, fire access road and the sequencing on the plan and in letter form. They all have that, and then they all have one ripple. You know, 1052, it's the drainage system to get rid of the flooding.
That's 1050.
1050, 1052, screening for the east abutter. And then you got Cushing Lane, the screening for the south abutter. And, that's Robinson Lane.
Yeah, Robinson
Yeah,
Road, sorry.
Robinson Road.
And
And Cushing is
Cushing
the-
Lane is the build out of the road. That's the ripple to that one.
Yep.
That's how, that's, and
Yeah, those are
That's
the
it.
issues.
that's a reiteration of what you just said.
So, we don't need to go back, we don't need to just take care of that.
And for the fire access roads, I just want to make sure that there should be the same exact details as the access road to the site. There's no specific differences in
Right,
the
if
depth
you got,
between
if
them.
you
It's
got
just
12,
about-
if you got 12 or 18 on that first half, then that's what's gonna go all the way around.
Yeah, the subbase, everything's the same except for the width, I guess.
Yeah.
16, 12.
Just talking to the engineer who gets stuck doing the work. If he gets it to Andy Mabola and to you by next Friday with all of that, just to say we think we've done it. So like such a thing as, well, kind of the screening should be modified, so it's this type of plan or that type of plan. Would you be able to distribute it so that one person could give us a comment back if we need to tweak it before the next meeting? I don't know who you want to be the point person.
Well, what would happen?
Paul,
Paul Sullivan?
Paul Sullivan would get them.
Yeah.
The best way to do it was send it to him in a PDF form,
yeah.
and then he'd send it to all of us.
Perfect. So the point making, just so that we're all on the same page, I really appreciate that summary, and that saves everybody another meeting, but, another staff meeting. But we'll get it to you by the close of business a week from tomorrow, to Paul Sullivan. Paul will share it with you. If he has comments that come back to us, we'll tweak it before we come to the next meeting 2 weeks from tonight. And then hopefully we'll have satisfied everybody then, and we still know there's other battles to fight
Right,
and other
then
things.
you
like
have
that.
other battles to take care of.
Just to bring up one thing, is Paul working on Fridays? I know he's been taking Fridays off.
Good point, good point.
So
Paul
if we can
hasn't
get
been
it-
Paul's
working
not
on-
in tomorrow.
No, he's not within tomorrow, he hasn't been working on Fridays.
Fridays, right. Is there any chance we could get it early on Thursday?
Or
This
late
is
on.
him. This is,
If we want to get it to us, we won't get it till.
Can we copy one board member? I know we can't distribute to everybody, but if we give it to one, then in case Paul's out or somebody's sick. I don't care who it is, but if you just give us.
Technically, I think by law, nobody's allowed to communicate to the others outside of the meeting. Paul is the only one that is allowed to communicate to everybody at the same time
Right.
outside of a meeting.
All right, I'll have him send it to Jamie Kelly then also, just the town administrator, just in case Paul's not there. Somebody else in
Yep,
town
right.
hall can
Yep.
distribute it.
Yep,
But the sooner, if we could get it like on a Thursday, he's usually out by 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
So, maybe he can get it to us, so.
Personally, I don't, if it went to the following Monday, I
Okay.
don't see.
We'll do our best to
I don't
get
see
it
the
for
end
you.
of the world, you know?
Okay.
It's like-
I have no kids, I'm not married, I can do it.
All right. Step it up to the plate.
Yeah.
Okay. And Paul won't get it out till Tuesday afternoon.
All right,
Yeah, that's the problem.
can you write down, you skip one to you.
These one of these, you might have to just take this back.
You can have that, yeah.
The whole thing this time.
I'm not going without my pencil box anymore. Well, always without the marker. Again, I understand you guys are under a time crunch, so hopefully that will help you guys out as best as possible. Mr. Farland, I know you're on vacation with your kids. I appreciate you being on this entire time. Thank you again. I think you can go back to your kids, and thank you for being on this.
He thinks you
long.
can.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will ask Mr. Babola and Pat to hang on for just a little bit longer, please. Gentlemen?
Do you need to give that to town hall with your signatures? Do you want to give it to us? Are we supposed to countersign? What's your preference?
I don't know.
Will you keep it then?
I'm gonna give this packet signed by us to Jamie Kelly. And then Jamie Kelly will
That's
deal
great. I
with
just wanted to make sure we didn't lose it, because I know you guys all signed it.
It's all signed, it's in the packet, and then we'll go back to Jamie. It came from Jamie, back to Jamie.
So it's only one document for all four?
One document for all
Okay.
four, and it
Thank
has
you,
them all full
everybody.
listed.
Okay, that was a
Thank
long.
you.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, appreciate it.
Okay,
Mike, you could put that right in Jamie's mailbox before you leave town hall.
there you go. Thank you very much. It's up here somewhere, I'll find it. I'll throw it on his
What about the
desk.
copier?
All right. A couple of questions were brought up regarding the Navison Solar Project at 355 Main Street to review the planting and screening. You were all sent an email with the set of these plans, which is the latest for, this is the golf driving range. Sorry, not golf, but driving range. They're finishing up over there. They have screening starting more or less in front of where the garage, so if you're coming down Main Street, you got the garage and the existing house there. You got screening starting on that corner, going all the way across the front, and then it kind of wraps around a little bit on that end there. What I am glad to see is there is a 7-foot solid white vinyl fence that shall be used for the first 100 feet on the southerly fence line for additional screening. So as people are driving by, they're not looking at a chain link fence.
Sutherland? Sutherland?
It
Not
says
easterly?
southerly
That's a
fence.
7-footer with the half-foot critter.
Could've, yeah.
So that's, no, this is southerly.
This is southerly, right?
That's
here.
easterly, so
Yeah.
there's nothing, you're not getting what you want easterly.
Hold on,
100 feet, I'm gonna say
proposed.
100 feet's not enough for that, not for that spot.
No, it's here too.
It is.
Yeah,
7-foot minimum
they
solid
do
fence,
show it.
vinyl fence along
Okay,
Main Street
good.
for additional screening.
Okay.
So,
And those are tall, are you saying that they started planting?
no, they haven't,
Okay.
no. They've started putting in the fencing all the way around, which is chain link,
Okay,
and they're finishing up.
so we should be keeping our eyeballs open that
For
this
this,
is all
yes,
vinyl, okay.
yes.
And then I noticed the plantings are taller. They promise much, bigger stuff.
They got proposed 17 green giant arborvitae, 7 Leland cypress, 6 to 8 feet, 8 to 10 feet on center,
Yeah.
On Main Street.
I wanna make sure
on
that,
Main Street. So
Yeah.
they're talking 6 to 8 footers, is what they have here.
yeah, what, I remember going to this meeting as a resident and, asking the question about it, and they pulled up a long picture of what it would look like.
I looked for that picture, we don't
Yeah.
have it.
I asked if they could leave it, and they had that look like they didn't want to leave it, because I said, that's what I want it to look like, right? So I know what that should be good, solid screening, and if it's not, I would hope that we don't give them the right to tie into the grid, because this is front and center.
No, that's
If you-
why,
if
and
you
that's
get-
why I asked, and there is some more screening out here in the back, by the looks of it. That's why I asked Mr. Babola to stay on. Before you, give them the access, or the
Connection?
connection
I don't know.
approval, or whatever it is that you give them, we gotta,
Occupancy.
the occupancy, thank you, Pat. We wanna make sure that the screening is adequate.
So the,
Go ahead.
Navison has been very easy to work with, for the last, since they came to the reality that it was their issue over there. I think if you tell us what you want, they'll be agreeable to doing it. I don't think there'll be any arm twisting over there at all.
Good
It's,
to know.
it's a small stretch. If you could convey to them that what we want to be able to do is drive down there, that valley, and all we see is green, and that's it. That's the way it
We
should
didn't even
be.
ask for more money on the decommissioning, and they offered it. They said, just tell us what you want, we'll do it. We're team players. And then-
Although did balk today a little bit on that, so.
Oh, did they?
Oh, yeah. So, Mr. Chairman, just to let you know, I think what I'll do when the time comes for an occupancy, I will ask for an email at least or a vote of the planning board that you are satisfied with the screening, since like you had said that, or Mr. DeVigna said that that's, the focal point, and you want it to look appropriate.
That's perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you, Andy, appreciate that.
Well,
Okay, next is an old one. CVE North American Solar Project at 88 Wing Lane, review of planting and screening. We had discussed well over a year ago, if the board recalls, this was a solar project that gave us all kinds of issues in the very beginning, especially regarding the screening. We agreed, and bear with me for a second, we actually have sureties in place for both, because these are on two sides of the road. We have $63,000 for one side and $30,000 in cash sureties to make sure the plantings grew and they didn't die, and the screening actually worked. Driving by recently, it hasn't worked. And a lot of them have died, and there are weeds higher than the screening. So I am going to propose sending them an email, giving them first opportunity to go out there and fix the situation. Give them some time to do that. We will reconvene on this on a month or two once we can, get some answers from them. And if they don't, then we'll take further steps.
How about we invite them into the next meeting on top of it, so they can explain to us how they're gonna bring it into the compliance with the plan. We were nice, it was 18 months ago.
And they made
Was
some
it 18
big
months
promises.
It was in the fall of, 18 months ago, they were promising the world.
That's right.
The only reason we signed off on it was they put a big chunk of money in escrow. And if they're not receptive to putting, because remember, the plan said, certain on center, a certain height, and they had little tiny
Right.
things. And they put the fabric on the fence, and, it looks like hell to me. I wouldn't want to drive by that every day. Once that fabric starts breaking away in the wind, there's nothing there. And if they're not compliant, or receptive to doing something this spring, I say we exercise the bond.
Yep.
And we go get it contracted,
Cash.
Cash, okay.
we get bids, and we have it put in. Maybe the fall, if it's too late in the spring, but if they don't act on it, then whatever.
Do we have to make a motion? Do we have to make a vote on this, or do we
I make a
just?
motion that we ask them to come in, we send them an email, like you said, asking that we want them to take action this spring, and we'd like to see them on the 11th, or whatever date it is, to explain what their plan is.
Hey, Mark,
Pat?
they've changed a lot of people at CVE. That was like a revolving door for project managers and engineers. The latest guy over there is Eric James, and if you don't have his contact info, I can send that to you and Paul tomorrow.
Please do.
So I kind of,
Otherwise, you might get a black hole and think they're not responding to you.
No, please
They're
do.
just not getting it.
That'll be very helpful for Paul, yes. Thank you.
Should we be
All
sending them a registered or certified letter?
Yeah, Paul sent them a certified letter, so they can't.
That's a
say-
good idea.
Yeah, so they
Yep.
can't say they didn't, or we didn't know.
Didn't get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
didn't get your email,
Yeah.
sorry.
Didn't recognize it, yeah, yeah.
That's
Went
part of
into
my motion.
spam.
That's part of my motion, to
Part of
get them
my
in here
motion.
and send them a certified letter on
And
Monday.
Monday, I'll slide by and take some pictures of it for you guys and send it to you, so you'll have it for your meeting.
Thank you. We have a motion, do we get a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fabulous. No town planner update, no other business.
There's no updates on the town plan?
Oh, no, actually there is an update on the town planner, as a
Have we
matter of fact.
advertised?
Yes, I was actually with town administrator this morning. We have been advertising. We've had a few people inquire, what were they called, the envelope liquors and whatnot.
Yeah, he said we got one.
We got one
application.
One actual application. I haven't looked at it, so I'm not gonna go into any details, but we do have one application.
Beat the door down.
But at least it's being advertised and
It's out there.
it's out there. So
Okay.
that's the latest update on that. And the advertising for the clerk for the building commissioner that is also open, which will also, for 10 hours or so, help us out in the future as well. So that's also being advertised for. Any bites on that, I don't know. That's it. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion
Oh,
to adjourn.
sorry.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Thursday, May 11th is our next meeting.
okay.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Oh, second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Have a good night.